I'll appoint the first black woman to the court.
It may even be illegal.
Liberal Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer is retiring, giving Joe Biden an open court seat to fulfill a campaign promise that he made. I will get to what that promise was. I'll also get to the conservative reaction to that promise and their hypocrisy on that. And I'll also get to potential picks that Biden may be considering, and at least in a couple cases, some decisions that have been made by those potential picks and what that means for the court. Now, let me first just quickly mention here that Breyer has not officially retired yet. He is likely to retire before the court's next term begins on October 3rd. So he'll likely retire sometime over the summer, but he's going to make that, formal announcement at some point. But this is good. I mean, this is something that Ruth Bader Ginsburg did not do. Even though she understood she was not in great health, she was very old, she thought, I guess, either she thought that Hillary was going to win or she didn't care regardless and just cared more about, being there as long as possible. But when you have this kind of power, when you're in a position like this, you have to understand what that means for society at large. So when you have the opportunity to retire and ensure that your seat is filled by somebody who is like-minded, who actually cares about the greater good, who cares about society, who cares about helping people, it's important to step down when you can so that your seat can be filled. So it's good that Breyer has decided to do this, unlike Ruth Bader Ginsburg. Now, let me get to what Biden promised during his campaign.
I committed that if I'm elected president and have an opportunity to appoint someone to the courts, I'll appoint the first black woman to the courts.
All right, so I'll get to the conservative reaction to this and their hypocrisy around that, and I'll also get to some potential picks that Biden may be considering. But first here, the story behind this promise is very interesting. So I will link to this article below the video on YouTube. It's on Yahoo News, investigative piece by Michael Isikoff. This essentially goes into why Biden made this promise. It's because of Clyburn. So the first two states Biden got destroyed, came in like 4th and 5th. He had to win South Carolina to be able to move on and win the primary. He needed the endorsement of Jim Clyburn. And during this debate, Biden was supposed to initially promise to appoint a black woman to the Supreme Court. He didn't for like the first half of the debate. Clyburn apparently was agitated. During a commercial break, he went backstage, confronted Biden, told Biden he had to make that promise on stage if he wanted his endorsement. Biden then made this promise, and Clyburn endorsed Biden the next day. And then Biden, of course, goes on to win that state, win the primary, and the rest is history. So it's very interesting to see, the veil be lifted and see how politics works behind the scenes. But Biden, this is a decision that he likely didn't even consider or think of until he was confronted with that endorsement. Now, let me get to this. So there's, of course, a conservative freakout about this very normal promise, this good promise to make, to want to diversify the court. The idea that there hasn't been a black woman on the court yet is absurd. So, of course, this is a great decision. As I'll get to later, diversity of thought, also very important. But let me just play one reaction here. Of course, you're seeing similar reactions from, Ben Shapiro, other conservative commentators. But here is Sean Hannity on Fox News, his reaction to this promise. And then you'll see the hypocrisy slap you in the face.
But to exclude certain candidates based solely on race and gender is beyond extremely divisive. It may even be illegal. Now,
Ronald Reagan today promised to appoint a woman to the Supreme Court if he's elected president. Reagan said he made the promise to set the record straight on his attitude toward equal opportunities for women. More from Chris Wallace with the Reagan campaign.
But Reagan, it's illegal. How can you possibly do this? So stupid. So stupid. So clearly, Reagan, perfectly fine for him to make this kind of promise. Biden can't do it. The only difference there is race. So if you have no issue with what Reagan did, but you have an issue with what Biden's doing, what does that say about you? Now, let's get to potential names that are being floated right now. So you have here Ketanji Brown Jackson, Leandra Kruger, J. Michelle Childs, Mimi Wright, Eunice Lee, Candace Jackson Akumi, and Sherilyn Ifill. Now, of course, it doesn't mean that Biden's pick is definitely on this list, but it gives you an idea of who he may be considering. And to narrow it down even further, there are two names in particular that apparently are standing out. So the front runners here from Vox, Virtually every list of potential Biden nominees includes two names: a federal appellate judge, Ketanji Brown Jackson, and a California Supreme Court Justice, Leandra Kruger. Both women are fairly young. Jackson is 51, Kruger is 45, and both women have significant judicial experience. Jackson was appointed to a federal trial judgeship by President Barack Obama in 2013 and was recently confirmed to the powerful United States Court of Appeals in the District of Columbia Circuit. Kruger joined California's highest court in 2015. So now let me give you a couple of examples of decisions that they have made, one for each, and it gives you an idea of maybe where they sit politically. So in American Federation of Government Employees versus Trump 2018, Jackson struck down several provisions of 3 executive orders signed by President Trump, which sought to limit the ability of federal workers' unions to collectively bargain. So this here is a good decision, siding with the working class. This often is what is lacking on the court, is this opinion of actually understanding the need to stand with the working class, stand with the majority over, the wealthy few. So it's good to have a decision like this in Jackson's history. But now let's compare that to how Kruger is being viewed. So Kruger garnered a reputation as a moderate incrementalist. In one particular notable opinion, People versus Booza 2018, Kruger wrote her court's 4-3 decision rejecting a challenge to California's Proposition 69, which required police to collect DNA samples from all individuals arrested for a felony offense. Her opinion was joined by 3 Republican appointees, while 3 Democrats dissented. Now, I will say, if you go on to read this piece, it's not as clear-cut. That decision isn't as clear-cut as it may appear. Kruger didn't side with the Republican opinion for the same reason as they stated. So, there's differences there. That said, she's still viewed as a moderate incrementalist. So we're off to a bad start. But this is likely who I think Biden is more likely to side with. He's going to side with somebody who is viewed as a moderate incrementalist versus somebody who is viewed as an actual progressive that sides with the working class. Because Biden, as we know, loves to try to appeal to the right. Part of it is because he's gaslit endlessly. Whether it's Fox News, whether it's Joe Scarborough and MSNBC, both calling him too far left, which is absurd. What has Biden done that's too far left? He's done nothing for the left. But because they gaslight him that way, he is constantly on the defense trying to prove that, no, I'm not on the left, I'm actually on the right. So, I'm somewhere in the center. When in reality, the center in Washington is already on the right because it's very pro-corporate, anti-worker. But so Biden's going to pick somebody who's more conservative. He's going to get as conservative as possible with his pick. I think I would love to be proven wrong, but I don't think I will be. But we will see. Now, just quickly to end on here, to give you an idea of how successful Republicans are at getting their agenda passed versus Democrats, Joyce Aline here tweeted out Amy Coney Barrett went from nomination to confirmation in 27 days in the middle of a huge flare-up in the pandemic and, of course, before the election. I do not think, I can almost guarantee you, that Democrats will not be able to go from nomination to confirmation in 27 days. It will take longer. They will give in to Republican pressure. You'll likely even have people like Manchin and Sinema, even though there's reports saying that they're going to be on board with Biden's pick, whoever it is, there may even be pushback there. There's this constant desire, of course, to, push everything the Democrats are doing from the right. So you're always going to have, Mitch McConnell and Republicans try and stop Democrats from doing anything. So that obstruction is going to be there. This is also part of the reason why I think Biden will try to be as conservative as possible in thinking that, if I'm more conservative, then I'll seem more reasonable to them and they'll let my pick through and we'll have no problems. Come on now. It doesn't matter who Biden picks. They're going to try and obstruct regardless. That said, Democrats have the 50 votes, so they should have no problem getting their pick through. But we're going to have to wait and see how all of this plays out.